Now, before we get stuck into today's yarn, podcast fans, please let me ask you this. Have you ever been lying in bed after a late shift and you hear that dreaded from behind the walls? Well, you know it's rats and mice having a party and you're not invited. Now, that's where Sterle comes in. Their new rodent-free Max is a no-fuss, plug it in and forget it kind of situation. In fact, it is the solution you're looking for. And it is safe for you, it is safe for your pets, and there's no poisons, no traps. It is solid Australian technology, and it keeps your pests out of your home. We've got 3. We've got one up in the kitchen, one downstairs, and one out near the barbecue area. You just plug it in, and it sends a message through the wiring of your home, and rats and mice hate it, and they leave. And it doesn't affect you or your pets. Sterle, trusted for over 20 years. They've got your back. Head to pestrol.com.au or give them a bell. 1-800-338888. Problem solved. Sterle, Pestrol. You feel that? That nip in the air. The sniffles are starting. Winter is definitely on the way, folks. At this time of the year, I don't muck around. I fire up with Nature Bee's Power Pollen. It is packed with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, everything your body's screaming out for when that temperature drops. It's helped me stay sharp, healthy, and it helps me fight off that sluggish winter slump. It has been doing that for 20 years. And right now, you can grab a 6-month supply of Nature Bee's Power Pollen for $160. Plus, they're throwing in a bonus month and 2 bars of that famous pollen and honey soap. So before winter knocks on your door, click on the link in the description and get your supply of Power Pollen Nature Bee. Money back guarantee. Big thanks to Nature Bee for powering another episode of Bonafide.
Got your diesel running, head out on the highway, missing all the roadkill. Another Truckie Tuesday. Indicate when you're changing from lanes. Do not brake check me in my prime. Sterle moves and it's thanks to you guys. Trucks to get there on time. Listen to the air horns. Dip your lights from high beam.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Truckie Tuesday. Rocket Rod Hannafy is with us again, and we've got a couple of very interesting people to talk to. Rod Hannafy, first of all, welcome back to Bonafide.
Good morning.
Now, a little bit later, we're going to get the answer to your quiz question.
Good.
In fact, I've decided because there's nothing like a bit of alliteration when it comes to these things, so I'm going to call it Rocket Rod's Road Riddle.
Oh, yeah, love that.
All right, we'll get to that in a minute. Rod Hannafy, you've been suggesting for some time now we talk to an interesting bloke, Senator Glen Sterle, Labor Senator for Western Australia in the Australian Parliament, also Deputy Labor Senator for the federal electorates of Durack and O'Connor. Interesting bloke. As a young man, he grew up in public housing in Langford. He saw and learnt the value of hard work reflected through his parents. And his dad was a truck driver and his mum was a nurse. And there's a story here because he is saying that he's had a gutful of hearing stories of drivers being fined for simple spelling mistakes, for example, in their work diaries. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome West Australian Senator Glen Sterle to Truckie Tuesday. Senator, g'day.
G'day, Rod. Thanks for having me on, mate.
Of course, too, Glenn did a Senate inquiry into the industry, Luke, and he is currently the chair of the Heavy Vehicle Rest Area Steering Committee, which I'm a member. Glenn's the chair. There are 5 drivers. As an industry, we're very disappointed in the Heavy Vehicle National Review. We sought to change it fairly, and I think the industry is very disappointed in what we're going to finally get. They've listened to the wrong people. And, of course, the other thing is that We are losing drivers. I don't think we're recognised for what we do.
Senator Glen Sterle, jump in, please.
No worries. Thanks, Luca. I still run road trains up to Kimberley, and my son is a long-distance road train operator as well. I will say I actually feel sorry for the federal minister in this space, because the argument or the conversations around transport portfolios when they all get together, the ITM, the Infrastructure and Transport Ministers meetings, has been hijacked by police ministers, by road safety advocates. When we're talking about things to do with trucks, it should be, or transport, people who have actually got skin in the game and do know what they're talking about. Also, I can't let this one go. Look, there's some very nice at the NTC, but I don't know what the hell they do. The now government, while in opposition, had earmarked $80 million to be put aside to construct rest areas, heavy vehicle rest areas. When in government, that increased to $140 million. But the important thing there was that I was insistent that we must have a committee made up of people who know what they're talking about, that have or will sleep in truck bays. Hence your intro there, Rob, when you were talking about the makeup of the committee. For the listeners out there, there's a fair bit of cynicism. But what we have to do here is we have to get input or recommendations for co-funding as well from the states or the shires. I will say we've had some really good projects come to us, and I think the majority of them we've ticked off on. But we can't suggest what those projects are, because the state government and the local councils have to do 50% funding. If it was up to us 10 sitting around the table, the $140 million would have been allocated in the first meeting, wouldn't it, Rod?
Nearly.
That's right. So anyway, I'm happy to say that we yesterday's Heavy Vehicle Rest Area Committee meeting, that 3 projects are now underway. They're in construction. Saying that too, I had a bad habit of saying, well, it could be hard, just get a dozer out and knock over a few trees and put some bitumen out there and chuck a toilet in there. Well, yeah, it sounds pretty easy, but there's a fair bit of stuff we have to go through. So it's starting to take shape. Some of the states have been more active than others. There is one state that, I think they're still part of the Commonwealth, but anyway, Rod knows what I'm talking about there. Hopefully the next meeting, and I can't say too much at this stage, but the committee has requested that we meet political leaders like ministers and their staff, invite them to our next meeting so we can actually have a conversation with them saying, look, we really need, particularly on our major freight routes, a lot more suggestions. I'll just say it like that.
So then your next program, Glenn, what you're about to pursue now?
Right, thanks, Rod. The worst kept secret in our industry, and it is a boil that needs to be lanced, is the use of ABNs, sham contracting. And what's really, look, it's been around forever. Everyone knows about it. There is no one in the industry that doesn't know what we're talking about. So, Luke, for your listeners out there too, as Rod and I know, sham contracting is when a owner of trucks or a company enlists a not so honourable accountant and entices drivers to go and get an ABN to get paid under that ABN, which means they are, for taxation purposes, a contractor. So the company supplies the truck, as everyone knows. The driver with his ABN or her ABN gets in it, thinks that they're some sort of entrepreneur where they get paid a flat hourly rate. And I will tell you, I know for facts that $40 is not out of the realms of possibility. And I was informed by a friend in WA last week, there are a number of them working around Perth on less than $40 an hour. Of course, with that $40 an hour, no taxation, no workers' compensation, no holiday pay, no superannuation, blah, blah, blah. Now, I do know, and I cannot identify, I had a phone call from a lady a number of years ago. She was so distressed. She was working for a maggoty, grubby employer in Western Australia. Her husband was driving for this lowlife who had paid him on an ABN. And that was all fine until the taxation department caught up with them and they lost their house. But she was that embarrassed and traumatised, she promised me not to mention their name and the company's name, of which I promised her I wouldn't. And I don't think that would be a one-off.
You know, it's funny you should mention that, Senator, because my son, for many years, had to get an ABN and he was working for a tradie,
Yep.
right? My son's a tradie. And he was told to get an ABN, so his employer didn't have to pay everything you just said, all his entitlements. But he was working 100% for this bloke. I thought the figure 80% comes into my mind, but you'll correct me. But I said to him at the time, the income you're earning is 100% from this bloke who's put you on as a contractor.
Yeah. So look, and it's worse. Look, this is where the very it's a fuzzy line with the ATO. Trying to get sense out of the ATO in the Senate inquiry that I did about 4 or 5 years ago, they were absolutely of no help. But and I understand with your tradie, your son's probably got his tools and that's in his ute, and that's it. With the trucking, it's worse. It is very clear cut. It's sham contracting because you cannot contract your arms unless you do not supply the truck. You don't. It's not your truck. It's not your tool of trade. It is completely and utterly illegal. So what I did too, and I informed Rob and the crew yesterday, and I've also said this in big rigs, I have written to the ATO. I have requested from the ATO a dedicated transport task force stroke, whatever they want to call it, to get out there and just hear me out on a number of reasons why. Not only are drivers getting absolutely ripped off, and when they do get caught up and audited by the taxation office, they're going to be in a world of pain. Not only is that happening, there are foreign drivers being exploited on this, absolutely. And there's another argument around exploitation of foreign workers in the foreign visa system. But there is massive tax avoidance within the road transport industry, and I have figures on my desk in Canberra that were given to me yesterday. And I hadn't seen the report from the ATO. And they're saying that the Australian road transport industry 3 years ago was number 7 in the list of the dark economies within Australia, being, tax avoidance, getting paid by cash, operating sham contracting, ABNs and all that. Now we're proudly at number 4 and rising. So not only is there massive tax avoidance, but by unscrupulous operators convincing or engaging drivers on ABNs, they are driving the rates down in the marketplace. We are now watching companies, reputable companies, the mid-tier companies, forget about the big ones like Scott's that have gone backside up, who are just shutting down. And they've not gone broke. They're just closing their doors. The drivers are getting their entitlements. They're cleaning up all what they owe. And the gear is going off to auction. This is an absolute catastrophe. This is unspeakable that this can happen in this nation because the taxation department, in my humble opinion, needs to get out there and absolutely, for all the reasons I've listed, go out there and clamp down on this. And I'm a firm believer. They start nailing this unscrupulous behaviour, the industry will clean up very, very quickly.
It's Rod Hannafy. It must be so refreshing to have a voice in the federal parliament that has some serious skin in the game. Senator, I wanted to talk to you about how we encourage more young Australians to take up the trade, or it's a profession, the profession. Rod and I have been talking for years about how a lot of truckies are leaving the industry. It's hard work. It's difficult on families if you're long haul. The bureaucracy and the red tape you've got to go through, and the massive fines if there's an innocent mistake, which I mentioned in my introduction. And yet, if we run out of truckies, our supermarket shelves are going to be empty. Does anyone realise this? It concerns me as a consumer. Right?
Yes. Now, quickly, the other thing with the ATO certainly audited a lot of truck drivers and targeted us for minuscule things. And yet they've ignored this big problem. That's something that we've got to recognise because they put us down as a bad industry before, but they've targeted the wrong part of the industry because of we claim how many days away. And I think about, 4 or 5 years ago, Glenn, they doubled the parliamentary allowance and they tried to halve ours. And we're the poor buggers out here on the side of the road trying to get a decent meal and stay safe even during COVID. We were treated pretty badly during that.
Yep.
But we're looking at an apprenticeship scheme. It's something that's been needed for so long. There are trials up now. We hope that will become national. We have had at least this HVNL review, but it hasn't taken away those ridiculous fines and penalties. And we want to be safe. We are happy with a fine or a penalty for someone who does something wrong that impacts road safety, their own or anybody else's. Because there is not a truck driver I know who goes to work to have an accident. There's not a truck driver I know who wants to work beyond ridiculous hours. And you know, here we are talking about those that are being put in that position under the sham contracting, and they are being made to work long hours for very little pay, and that brings the whole industry down. And all we can do is seek support from the government. We have had the closing loopholes bill got up. That's going to help some people. But those people that avoid the law, those people that are acting outside of it, we don't want them as part of the industry. And we're not talking about where they come from, Luke. We're not talking about any particular group. We're talking about those in the industry who are abusing their drivers, who are cheating the system and dragging the industry down. And I've got to say, mate, I've tried to raise this, and I don't even think my family at sometimes will agree. People don't recognise what we give up out of our life to spend 6 days a week or, you know, a fortnight at a time living in a truck with no toilets and no rest areas and no facilities and no decent food. It's certainly getting harder to get. And we do that so that people can have a decent life. And all we ask is reasonable and some empathy from those people so that we can do our job safely as well. And we've got to educate them about sharing the road with trucks. You'll get sick of me saying that over time, Luke. We've been through that one as well. But Glen's in a position where he can have a say, he can do so and raise these issues, and we hope that we will not only help the industry and do our job better and safer, but we will save people's lives on the road.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a question or a statement. Rod, you need to get into the Parliament. But Senator Glen Sterle.
So, look, thank you. And, Rod, I love your passion, mate. I just want to quote this, that when I came off the road and became an organiser with the TWU, I moved into a completely different circle rather than being locked in a sort of 6x6 fiberglass box. I actually had to get out there and talk to people, and a lot of those people were government officials. What they've been telling us for all these years, in the last 30-odd years in my other capacities, that every 15 to 20 years our transport task doubles as a nation. Well, they're damn right. But I'll tell you what, we're not keeping up with it. And this is not a new thing. We haven't been keeping up with it for years. I know when I first started in the industry, coming out of school in the mid-70s, we were casual for a couple of years because you just couldn't get made permanent, not because they didn't want you as a permanent, because the supply and demand was the other way around. Now we're the complete opposite. And it's all very well, this goes for all facets of transport, road, rail, sea. I won't talk about air, but the reason why I don't talk about air because that's overseas stuff, a lot of that mainly. But road, rail and sea, we're not keeping up. We can't attract young people to our industry. And I just want to share this one, and I've been batting on about this for years. We did have, first to just clarify, we did have a round table in Canberra I held last year in October, 37 industry leaders, and there's a lot of work still to be done around that, chasing dollars, chasing recognition, and that's now reactivating. We had a couple of elections come in the way, or state election and federal elections, but we're rolling up the sleeves and getting back into work in that. But I asked this question. Now, I want to go back to, and look, it was 2019 election, and I remember the ATA had got into the Prime Minister's ear in the election period to suggest he should announce getting 16-year-olds training in forklifts. Well, the place erupted. All the bedwetters came out from everywhere, all the non-transport experts, very poorly handled, just a complete waste of time and energy. And, of course, everyone's too scared to talk about that. I've been on about this for years. How the hell can we put a 16-year-old in an aeroplane? They can fly that, but they can't start learning to operate a forklift with a fully qualified trainer at their hip. And you know what? No one's doing a thing to address that. Now, that's not the panacea. It's not the one bullet that's going to fix it. But Luke, I put this to you and to your listeners.
Yeah.
How many 16-year-old kids would actually have a bit of a buzz with a steering wheel in their hand, learning a vocation at a very young age the right way and actually getting paid to do it and getting paid quite handsomely if you're working for the right company?
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. They'd love it. And I think there are too many kids staying in school too long who aren't academic, but they are clever and they want to learn and they want to earn some money. And that goes for the building industry as well, another topic. But you with me?
Sure. Look, mate, I spent the early 70s, staring out the classroom at Thornley High School thinking, how the hell can I get out of here? And I say this quite proudly, I never left school. Luke, I damn well escaped. But you're dead right, mate. But 2025, we can't get workers anywhere. It's now time to rip the Band-Aid off this festering wound. We've got to start talking about it. We've got to start doing something. Oh, hang on, talk about it. Well, actually, we don't even talk much about getting kids at 16-year-olds getting into forklifts for proper training. The industry is trying everything it can, but it's time for the pollies now to actually set aside and say to the industry, what the hell can we do to fix this? And this is hence why I had the round table in Canberra last week. The stumbling blocks of the states, and I'm not just passing it back. Everyone knows, and when it comes to transport and road transport and training and all that sort of stuff, federally we dish the money out, federally we set the standards, then the states allocate. So we're on to that. We're actually on to that. But also there's another a dark corner. And this came out loud and clear at the round table, and I will start the conversation because this is another problem within our industry. Every single industry leader for road transport in this nation wants to see the trucks and buses, let's not forget the buses as well, they're in crisis trying to find people, bus industry, with fully qualified drivers who come to work, fit for duty, go home, get remunerated handsomely for their effort, and other road users are safe. Well, we've got a problem in this nation with the exploitation of the visa system, and I'm going to lead the charge. The first person that comes at me with a racist comment that's going to get thrown back at them at 100 million miles an hour. We are losing drivers on the road. We are losing foreign drivers on the road. The industry damn well knows that there is sham operators in transport and training. We all know that. Every state can tell a story, yet no one wants to talk about it. Well,
okay. Well, we've talked about it a lot, and I know, Senator, you've got to go soon. But Rod, in our years together on radio and now on this podcast, when we used to take calls, so many truckies would complain about the quality of the training that a lot of foreign drivers go through to get their licenses. Now, I'm not going to pick on one particular race, but this was a complaint, and I don't know if it's a legitimate point. But Rod, you'll back me up. We used to get callers saying, "Oh, there are driving schools that look after their particular folk, and they're passing people who have paid the money, and they're not qualified, and their command of English is poor, and they're getting into trouble on the roads." You hear that all the time. So has that tightened up to your has it tightened up sufficiently to your standard?
Glen's aware of things, and there were shams not only in that way, but there were those who virtually bypassed the licensing system altogether. Now, South Australia at the moment is the only state that has said they will not allow any overseas driver a heavy combination or a multi-combination licence without testing. In the past, people came in and they said, I drive big trucks, and they were given an MC licence and let loose on the road. Now, that horse has bolted. They're out there. We hope they've learnt. We hope that someone's guided them and given them the knowledge that they need. But we know that many didn't get it. They were sent out there to learn, some by mistake, some by default, some, I'm sure, even lost their lives or cost the lives of others because they were allowed on the road without passing our testing regime.
Yep.
Now, we want to improve that regime. We want to make it better and have better drivers. But many people got through. We have, at this stage, started to fix that. I don't think we've solved it, but that's another part of the problem, isn't it, Glen?
Yes, absolutely. You're damn right. And can I just stress this too? This is not having a crack at foreign drivers. We want them to come to this country. We want them to have a fantastic life and a brilliantly paying job, and we want them to be safe. We don't want them exploited. And not only that, every time there is a death on our roads, if any other industry had the amount of deaths in their workplace as we do on our roads, there would have been 100 royal commissions and God knows what else support. But unfortunately, we are just part of doing business. It's got to stop.
Yeah, I love it that these Senate inquiries, I love it how when you're looking into the trucking industry, you have a group together that's called a steering committee. I just love that. Anyway, I do love that. Senator, before you go, I've got to mention this. It's a story that has touched the hearts of so many Australians. Last Friday, there were more than 80 trucks carrying 6,000 bales of hay and straw. They left WA, last Friday, and they're bound for drought-stricken South Australia. It's good to see, isn't it?
It is. It's fantastic. And you know what?
And who do you think? And who do you think's driving it? They're truck drivers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, and I've just spent 47 years in and around the industry. You know, some of the most generous people you will meet are in the trucking industry. When there's national catastrophes and all that, who's always first there? Oh, first responders, but who's the first industry there and who's the last to leave? It's us. It's the trucking industry. And we are everything. We're every part of society. It's just a shame we don't get recognised as that important cog in everything that we do. And as the old saying goes, that everything, is delivered on the back of a truck, except the baby in most cases.
Well, it's called the Convoy of Compassion. And as I say, those trucks left WA. What can you tell us about it? It's a good story. Not the drought part. And in fact, they're getting rain as we record this in South Australia now. But it shows a lot of compassion, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, it does, and good on them. I wasn't aware of that. Look, that's the first I've heard of it. I've been in Canberra since last Sunday week. So
you're in the bubble.
Yeah.
You're in the bubble, Senator.
Look, I'm sorry, I did not do that. But believe it or not, mate, there's been a lot going on, but I did not know that.
Okay, we see you had a very entertaining day last Friday in the Senate with Michaela Cash and Penny Wong going at it over the country. That was... Oh,
I missed that.
Go and find it.
I will stand by and respect Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa Price, who every day has lived and breathed reconciliation in this country. Her father is white. Her mother is black.
It's not for today's discussion, but it was world-class entertainment. Oh, my God.
I didn't know. I'd heard of it, but I had walked out the Senate chamber before that. I had gone...
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I'd gone... No, it happens all the time, mate.
Do you want to know something?
Yeah, fill me in.
In 1978, I went to a 2GB premiere of The Deer Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so bored I left at interval, and the best part of the movie was still to come. You've done a Luke Boner Deer Hunter.
Mate, I've done that on a number of occasions. I've walked out thinking, well, this is just an ordinary run-of-the-day conversation that goes on in this place.
Oh, you missed an absolute cracker.
Yes.
You missed an absolute cracker in the Senate on Friday.
I'll have to go and find it.
Rod, I'll let you wrap up. What would you like to say?
So, Glenn, there's a lot to do. We really need lots of drivers to support it. And it's a bit like the steering committee, mate. There's a few of us there. We're very passionate. We're trying to do our best. We've got some keyboard warriors that say nothing will change, and you blokes are sitting there doing nothing. Well, geez, mate, that's not the case. I'd certainly like you to back that up because we want them to know that we're trying. I appreciate your efforts, mate, and we've got a long way to go, but we need people to be involved. Now, if every truck driver in Australia was a member of the NRFA or the TWU or NatRoad, I don't care what association they join, but if they joined one of them, we would have a bigger voice. We would be able to give that voice to you to get more done. And sitting on your bum in the truck, you've discussed it. Look, it's hard. It's getting harder in some ways, but we can make change. Just Glenn and I can't do it alone, and the other few that are doing it. And we want people to do the right thing. We've got to find a way to encourage other drivers to recognise that and be a part of it and be a part of that change. And, mate, I won't give up, and I know Glenn won't. And thanks for your time, Glenn, and I appreciate your efforts.
Rod, you're a champion, mate. And as you said, mate, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah, just more oil. Senator, you have been absolutely outstanding. I don't care what party someone belongs to. If they talk common sense, which you have today, I want to hear more of it. Can we invite you back?
Luke, at any time. I'd be honoured.
Mate, that was sensational. Thank you so much.
No, look, thanks very much, mate. And look, I'd say this with all honesty. Rob will tell you, mate, I attend every trucking function that I'm invited to. Some I double up I can't get to. Finally, I will say this, we are starting to get recognition. You don't see what goes on behind the scenes. We're actually, taking industry leaders from other states to meet ministers. We're breaking the defensive wall down brick by brick. We got a long, long way to go, mate. We need state and we need federal governments to absolutely consult at a far greater rate. To which level, thanks, Rod. And that's not attacking the ministers, because when I speak to the ministers, they think their bureaucrats are doing the job. And I will say this, it's easy to throw rocks, and I don't care if it's Labor or Liberal, it's easy to throw rocks at the ministers, but unless you actually get in their face and tell them what is happening, they think it's being done. And this is hence, mate, my dislike of the NTC and Ausroads. But anyway.
Senator, thank you so much.
Thanks, Luke. Good on you. Anytime. All right, Rod. Take care, mate, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Glenn. Cheers,
Thanks,
mate.
guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Rod, we've spoken over the years about an amazing woman, Ash Anderson, who teaches women to drive. She's got this...
Everyone.
She's got this famous truck.
Everyone.
It's called the Bubble Gum Bandit. And she's with the Dynamic Truck Company, and she's online on Truckie Tuesday here on Bonafide. Ash Anderson, come on down.
Hello, how are you guys?
We're great. Rod, people will see this, Kelsey, on our Facebook?
Well, it's on Ash's Facebook.
It's on Ash's Facebook. She posted a video, and she has a student at the wheel, Rod, who was trying to merge. And another truckie, a B-double, crossed the lanes and prevented her student from merging. The student had to apply heavy brakes, and the footage is, well, it's frightening.
Ash, do you want to tell us, what was happening in the cab? Tell us what happened.
If you can paint a word picture for people who are listening.
Oh, well, it was really quite simple. We'd entered the freeway merge. We had a really great gap. My student was slowly picking up speed, which a lot of people jumped down my throat about online. You can't do 100 until you're at that 100 sign. I teach my students how to follow the rules because I want them to be successful. So anyway, she was at about 80 Ks when we were nearly ready to merge. And the truck and dog driver, who I also want to say had an uncovered load, fully exposed. So that's another thing that annoyed me. He's come from the right-hand lane to the left, and there's only 2 lanes. So, people are trying to say that he didn't see or whatever. He was trying to let someone else overtake him. Regardless, he came from the right hand to the left just as we were about to actually make that merge. And that forced us down to, I think, 40 Ks right at the end of the merge.
So he was in the right-hand lane with no one else in the left. You were about to merge into an empty lane. He was in the right, but he moved from the right in the left virtually to be a prick.
In my opinion, yeah. However, to add on to that, because I'll maintain my professionalism here, if you have a look through the comments of that post, he was seen drag racing his mate from the same company a little bit further down the highway and a little bit further on the highway.
You just heard me talking to Glen, and that's where I said, at the moment, there's a lot of truckies out there feeling, disheartened and disillusioned and not happy, and I've got to try and find a way, we as the industry, to make them recognise that when they do that sort of stupid shit, and that's what it is, everybody sees the bad truckie. Now, for the next 2 months, everybody's going to talk about this one bloke who just did the wrong thing because he wanted to, and they're not going to see the other 99 out of every 100 truckies who simply do their job to get home safe to a family they don't see enough of. Now, that bloke might be a bad bloke. There are bad truckies, there are bad taxi drivers, there are bad taxidermists, and there are bad lawyers. All of those other people only get seen by the people they deal with. We're on the highway, we're visible. I'm sure that truck had its logo on it. You said he went and did another stupid thing down the road. Now, Ash, you and I, you can't teach everyone perfect, and I can't drive every truck. None of us are perfect. We make mistakes. We're human people. But we're out on the road. The one thing we can't do is get it recognised as our workplace, because maybe then we could make it a bit safer and teach people properly to share the road with trucks. But when people do the wrong thing like that bloke, we are all the worst on earth, and they simply don't recognise how much harm they do to everybody. Would you agree, Ash?
Absolutely. And that's part of the contributing factor to the old, a mud carter. And I did go on to post on Facebook later a couple of pictures of the mud carter trucks I'd driven, just to say, like, hey, I'm not anti-mud carter. I don't hate mud carters. I don't agree with that. But, that particular person was a flop.
Just quickly, what is a mud carter?
Tipper driver, yeah. A mud carter is a tipper driver. Now, there's a lot of tippers that do grain and all sorts of other products, but it's a bit like we talk about turd herders and tanker wankers. Everybody's got a nickname. So a mud carter is generally a local tipper and dog driver. And you did say B double at the start, Luke, so I said it was a truck and dog, not a B double.
What's the difference?
Yeah, he was a truck and dog.
What's that?
The difference is...
Can I get you in my truck?
No,
One's bigger than the other, that'll do.
Yeah, truck and dog is a rigid towing a trailer.
Ash, your bubblegum bandit, is it clearly marked that it's a learner? Is it clearly marked that you've got someone who's under instructions?
In Queensland, we don't have to say driver under instruction, but I do have extra large bright yellow L plates, front, back, and both sides on the door.
Clear.
Yeah.
So yes,
because I've seen photos of the bubblegum bandit, and it's amazing. It's my favourite truck I've ever seen in my life.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very clearly a learning truck.
It's clearly marked.
It does also say dynamic truck school as well.
Ash, do you think there are enough qualified instructors?
Enough driving instructors.
Qualified, safe driving instructors that teach the right thing?
Tough question.
We've been talking about getting young people into the industry and teaching people from overseas correctly.
There is not enough, and in 5 years, 10 years, like if we're in a critical shortage of truck drivers now and driving instructors, it is about to go to the pits in 5 years. And it's a very stressful thought.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did see in the comments, Ash, was people like praising you as well for your great instruction in that like high stress moment. You did a great job in there.
You're cool.
Yeah. How did because that must be a lot of pressure for you in those situations.
I'd love you to wear one of those watches that can show your heart rate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I want to know.
You know what? I should go back and have a look at my stats on that.
Yeah.
Could you?
For me, like, I've driven a lot of things, and like coming from fuel tankers, liquid bitumen, I've done the high stress truck driving as a driver. So to me, bobtailing around in a prime mover's pretty chill. And the people I have in my truck, I mean, Tara, the student that day, she's actually doing a HC upgrade. So she's been driving a body truck, an actual full-size rigid vehicle for some time. So she and we were just having a bit of a cruise. Her getting used to my truck in preparation to go for her HC on Monday. So she was, that was probably a benefit to the situation as well, was that she didn't panic.
Yeah.
She's cool.
But there are people who do panic under that. And there are, day in, day out, all we truckies, we bang on about the cars that do the stupid things. There is also the trucks that do the stupid things, but it's not as common as the cars because the cars don't have the understanding of what it takes to be a truck driver or how to drive a truck. So there is always something dangerous. And as long as you are looking ahead and continuously scanning and paying attention, which I'm very good at doing while having a conversation.
Yeah.
I can focus on all those things and pay attention. And if you watch any of those videos, you see my head doesn't stop moving.
No, it doesn't.
My eyes don't stop going. I am processing everything at all times to mitigate those risks. So staying calm, when you're well prepared, your reactions are quick, fast, and pretty chill.
Well, I've got to tell you this, Ash. I've taught 3 children to drive. My daughter, it was a nightmare. Absolutely not. You were so cool. Do you know what? If you weren't doing what you were doing, you could be working for the bomb squad.
Yeah, I do thrive under pressure, I've got to be honest. I'm well known for that reputation amongst friends and family.
Yeah.
You've got a crisis, you ring Ash, she gets it sorted.
Have you had many other like scary moments? Like Rod, have you had moments like that? Is this like a regular occurrence for you when you're teaching?
Yeah. I actually feel like it's worse nowadays.
Really?
I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
if it's just because it's my truck and I own it, that I'm getting a bit more angry about things and the near misses that these cars do. So maybe it's not worse. Maybe it's just more, I'm a bit more protective of my vehicle now than I ever have been as a company employee.
It is worse because A, there is more traffic. B,
Yeah.
the roads aren't up to the standard. And
Absolutely.
C, we don't teach people to share the road with trucks, and we've discussed there is a lack of some of the training in truck drivers, which we're trying to address.
There's a massive
And
lack.
look, there isn't a driver that's doing, even local's just as busy as you say. You know, you can have people doing silly things there as well as doing interstate, but
Yeah.
it's not recognised that. I honestly think, Luke, we get blamed when there's an accident. We discussed it. It's a truck crash that implies guilt by default. And yet, honestly, I think we save more lives because we are scanning, because we are anticipating, because we think, geez, that car's weaving a bit, I'm just going to give him a bit more room. And no one recognises how many lives we save, but we get blamed for the ones that we don't. And yet, of course, the other thing is they don't recognise the effect it's going to have on that driver or his family, because there have been people involved in truck crashes involving a truck where it was nothing to do with them, that the car had made a mistake. We know that's the majority of those fatal crashes are the fault of the car. And yet that truckie's got to live with that for the rest of his life. Truckies that have pulled people out of burning vehicles, have pulled up to help others. And we want every person, whether you drive a car, a bicycle, a truck or a moped, to get home safe. And that's why we're all here talking about it now. And look, Ash, I appreciate your efforts, mate. It's good to see that people recognise we need more women drivers. It's good to see that you're teaching them the right thing as well. I certainly wish you all the best, and I hope your student does well and gets her upgrade, mate. But thanks for your efforts and for putting this up. We don't want people to recognise us as bad, but we want people to recognise we are human, and if they do the right thing, we're all going to get home safe if we keep trying harder.
Absolutely.
Ash Anderson, lovely to meet you again. I think we've spoken before on Triple
Yeah, no, we spoke on this podcast.
We spoke on this podcast. God, hang on, I'll do that again.
Yeah, come on, Luke. Jeez.
Hey.
Try again. Pop it out. You'll be right.
Actually, leave that in, Kelsey.
I will.
Ash Anderson, lovely to talk to you again.
Thanks, guys. I'll chat to you next time.
Fascinating conversation with two fascinating people on today's Truckie Tuesday. Any feedback, please let us know. And now, on Truckie Tuesday, right across Australia and around the world, on the Bonafide podcast, it's time for Rod's Roving Road Riddle. Applause, insert there. Rod, what was your question last week?
The question is, what looks like a road train? It has the combined parts of a road train, and it drives like a road train, but it's not a road train. What's it called?
A mud carter.
A turd herder.
A mud carter could drive one of these,
A
but
turd
he doesn't.
herder. Tell Kelsey, a turd herder is livestock.
That's
Oh,
right,
right.
yes. I'm actually looking at a B-triple livestock truck parked in front of me at the enormous large village of Coolabah. And there's only me and the buses that just did a change over here. I'm on my way to Burke in a road train because with the road train, quickly, Luke, I've got two trailers in a normal road train. There's two other trucks going out with two trailers in a normal road train. When they get to Burke, they will hook up what's called a Type 2, and it will be a triple road train. So they will each have three trailers on at 53.5 metres. But we're not allowed to do that east of Burke, so I've got to get the other two out there.
So what's the answer to the question?
The answer is an A double.
Hey,
So
that's
it looks like a road train, but it's 30 metres long, not 36.5, and it's operated under PBS, performance-based standards. So it's got to have all the whiz-bang and the EBS brakes and those sorts of things. But anybody looking at it down the road, it'll have a long vehicle sign on the rear. It'll still have a dolly, a converter dolly. That's what makes it look like a road train. But because it's only 30 metres long, it has a long vehicle sign. Anything over 30 metres will go to road train.
And of course, if you are going to spend a long time on the road away from home, you can get a blow-up dolly.
Thank God I've never seen any of them in a truck. No, never.
And then if there's two big ones, it could be the
Stop
Dolly,
it.
the Dolly Parton.
We're done.
The Dolly Parton. Kelsey, did anyone get it right?
Yeah. I think it was Nathan. I might have forgotten that name, but yes, somebody did get that right.
Okay, Rod, we need another question to keep people thinking for the week. I want Rod's roving road riddle question number 2.
Okay, so those out there who drive trucks, we did a survey years ago of drivers asking them what is the most important thing to teach car drivers. Now, we have the Truckie's top 10 tips for sharing the road. I want someone to tell me what the number 1 tip is, the thing that most drivers said caused most trouble and that we need to teach car drivers to share the road safely with trucks. What's tip number 1?
Tip number 1 for question number 2.
Allow space.
That's part of it, but that's not the whole answer. So you only get a half a point, Kel. You don't give a half
Well, there you
a
go.
half.
There's a.
Oh, actually, you're a spoiler.
No, I just gave a hint.
You're a spoiler. Rod Hannafy, a fascinating Truckie Tuesday. Thank you so much.
Cheers, mate. I've got to get back on the road. Safe travelling to Wall, as always.
Look, let's wrap it up with my last piece of wisdom. It's rodent related. Don't lose sleep over things that scurry in your roof and behind your walls. All you've got to do is plug in Pestrol's rodent-free Max and let it do the worrying. It's $139. It comes with a 100-day money-back guarantee, a 2-year warranty, and you know what? I'll take the odds. Head to pestrol.com.au or call 1-800-338888, 1-800-33-8888. Pestrol. Problem solved. And the links are in the description. Okay, now listen, before you go, a quick reminder, winter doesn't have to walk all over you. Get on the front foot. Nature Bee's Power Pollen. It is your winter defense kit. More energy, immune support, nutrients, antioxidants, and it's all in one beautiful little golden capsule. And you don't need to swallow the capsules whole either. I mean, you can just sprinkle it on your breakfast, on your porridge, in your smoothies, in your juice. Power Pollen's sweet, nutty taste is both a flavour and an energy boost. And it's proof that it's just Mother Nature. You can grab a 6-month supply for $160, and they're throwing in an extra month and 2 bars of their famous pollen and honey soap for free. Comes with a money-back guarantee, otherwise I wouldn't endorse it, and I've been taking it since the year 2000. Click the link in the description and order yours today and say goodbye to winter blues. Nature Bee, helping you stay on top of winter and not under it. And a big thanks to Nature Bee for powering up another bona fide episode.